Cities are the world's primary hub of economic and cultural activity, and it is increasing more and more every day. This accelerated demographic change has put many cities under a very significant strain, with local governments that are often unfortunately struggling to meet higher demand for energy, for water, but also in providing services such as health, education, and transport. So as the area in which most people live and work, cities are also increasingly acknowledged as the arena in which solutions to major societal environmental challenges can be developed and implemented, and are also truly recognized as the cradle for innovation, where solutions are tested, are piloted, and will be scaled up.
You've just heard from Georgia Rambelli of the Global Covenant of Mayors Secretariat speaking on the importance of urban climate action at last year's COP26 meeting. Welcome to the very first episode of the City Climate Innovation, a special ClimateTalks podcast mini-series with the University of Melbourne and the Global Covenant of Mayors for Climate and Energy, or GCoM, seeking to accelerate innovative urban climate solutions. I'm your host, Kathy Oak, from the Melbourne Centre for Cities, and advisor to GCoM's Innovate for Cities.
My name is Ben Hanse, Head of Research and Innovation at GCoM. Welcome, listeners. In conversation with our guests today, Kathy and I will be talking about Innovate for Cities and consider the potential for multi-level support for climate action. Before introducing our guests, however, let's bring in the co-managing director for the GCoM Global Secretariat, Andy Deacon, to talk about research and innovation at GCoM. Andy, it's finally happening. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Ben, and thanks for having me.
So I know that each episode you'll be providing our listeners with a quick fire update on the top research and innovation activities that the Global Covenant is driving and supporting.
That's right. Just a few things to mention in this first episode. So recently we launched the City Research and Innovation Agenda and the updated Global Research and Action Agenda. They were released earlier this year at ICLE World Congress in May 2022. These agendas, which are focused on the local policy process and the myriad themes and cross-cutting topics at the heart of urban innovation, act as a guide for the GCoM Alliance to accelerate urban research and innovation in the lead up to COP27 and beyond. The Global Covenant has also partnered with the European Commission and an organisation called JPI Urban Europe to accelerate the net zero transition of 50 cities through the Mission Innovation Urban Transitions Mission. And if my sources are right, you'll hear more from me and colleagues on the ground later on in this episode. At COP27, we also anticipate the launch of the Summary for Urban Policymakers, a three-part series that distills the science published in the latest sixth assessment report cycle of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, or IPCC. And the aim, together with IPCC authors and other partners, is to make these critical findings actionable for local leaders. And last but not least, there's exciting work happening with the Cool Coalition, a network of cross-sector stakeholders committed to the transition to efficient and climate-friendly cooling for all. So watch this space for a status, gap and opportunities report on global cooling, highlighting practical steps towards cooling our communities sustainably. And I think that's it, for now at least.
Thank you, Andy. I know that's just scratching the surface, so plus points for keeping it short and sweet. Next, let's turn to our guests.
Indeed, Ben, we're excited to have joining us today guests who are all involved in the initiatives that Andy has just mentioned. We have the co-chair of GCoM's Research and Innovation Technical Working Group, Valentina Palermo, from the European Commission Joint Research Centre, and from the recent Global Clean Energy Action Forum in Pittsburgh, USA, we have Rosalinda van der Vlies, Mission Innovation Vice Chair, and Georgia Rambelli, Director for the Urban Transitions Mission. And we'll also be hearing from Andy later on from the aforementioned forum in Pittsburgh.
Welcome to the show, Valentina.
Thank you, Ben.
To start our first episode, we'd love for you to tell our listeners more about the City Research and Innovation Agenda, where I know you've been leading some of our latest work with the GCoM Alliance. For the first question, I'm really curious to know, what is the City Research and Innovation Agenda in the first place? Who do you see as the target audience for this agenda, and why is it necessary to have it in place?
So the Global Covenant Innovate for Cities initiative contributes to research and innovation for cities and by cities. The first conference was held in 2021 and was building upon an international cities and climate change science conference held in Edmonton. And it brought together representatives and stakeholders from different social groups, private sector, academia, local and national governments, and more. The conference brought close to 7,000 participants from over 150 countries to consider the challenges that were associated to urban climate action, science, and practice. The Global Covenant of Mayors and UN Habitat summarized the outcomes into a report. Then was developed to the Global Research and Action Agenda. And then this document has been developed into the updated City Research Agenda for the Global Covenant of Mayors. So City Research and Innovation Agenda, or CRIA, is identifying new updated set of research and innovation priorities for city-led research. This agenda also influences sustainable evidence-based action and implementation based on technological, nature-based, and governance solutions.
Thanks, Valentina. That's really interesting, and there's a lot of work that's gone into that, it sounds like, and the acronym could potentially roll off the tongue a little bit easier, but I'm really curious to understand as well the importance of understanding research and innovation needs for cities. Why go through all the work to build these agendas out? What is the outcome that we're trying to aim for here?
I think there's the need of a bit of background. We know that today 56% of population lives in cities, and cities in time have developed into very complex and dynamic ecosystems with numerous components at stake, from social to physical, technological, ecological aspects. So investing in research and innovation is a key step towards increasing the knowledge, the capacity to manage this complexity. So research and innovation are the means to deal with these challenges, the challenges that cities face. Research and innovation can support the undertaking of a whole approach, a systemic approach that can bridge technological, economic, and the social pillars through a governance lens. So in this framework, it becomes crucial to understand what are the challenges faced by the cities, what are the pressing needs of cities, so that we can provide and co-create tailored solutions that make value of the difference and build on this to ensure sustainability, climate change mitigation and adaptation, as well as energy justice for all. And this on this premise that the Research and Innovation Technical Working Group of the Global Covenant of Mayors is conducting a study on the regionalization of the agenda to ensure the success in researching activities, implementing solutions that are suitable and valuable in different regions of the world. Finally, it's only understanding the needs of the cities that we are able to connect all the dots of these different and multiple components to develop a vision while reinforcing the benefits for the community. Because in the end, we need to remember that cities are made of citizens, who are the users of the cities, of the services, of the premises. So their needs are the topic and focus of our research and all the innovation activities.
So Valentina, as a researcher, how do we actually go about implementing this agenda?
So, addressing the challenges of climate change, I think will be possible only by working together with the contribution of all stakeholders.
The JRC is providing scientific and technical support to ensure that there is methodological consistency and give the chance for all cities to share their results while maintaining their flexibility and I would also say a sort of personality. So identifying research innovation priority is a step to develop evidence-based knowledge to support decision makers and practitioners in adopting suitable and local relevant strategies and solutions. But cities are already on their way. They have been demonstrating the capacity and the will to host innovation, technological advancement, and also to design and implement policies to address their challenges. So the research and the research agenda is contributing in an evident way. All phases of this roadmap have been touched upon by our research agenda. And we are contributing with investigation, developing solutions, as well as assessing benefits to fine-tune what we have been previously understanding.
Well, thank you, Valentina, for joining us today.
Thank you to you.
What about you, Ben? From Global Covenant of Mayors perspective, from a city network perspective, how do we implement this huge agenda?
Well, I think for us, the Global Covenant Alliance is really focused right now on working to regionalize the agenda, both the City Research and Innovation Agenda and the Global Research and Action Agenda, which was just updated also in Malmö earlier this year at ICLE World Congress. The GCoM Alliance is made up of more than 100 partners split across 13 regional covenants. And the work is only getting started because something that we haven't yet done, to the fullest extent at least, is to bring together partners across sectors, city practitioners, private sector leaders, academia, and civil society. We need to get them in the same room, share ideas, solutions, and proposals that could then bring us to a low-emission, resilient, and safe future. This is an open call. All our partners are welcome, and also those with whom we may not yet be interacting are welcome. The implementation for us, at least, really starts with all of the brilliant ideas coming out of our cities, local governments, and partners. And we're certainly hoping to see all of those folks, including those who might be listening to this right now, soon in one of those regional events coming near you in the years to come.
Here we are talking to two guests on the floor at the Mission Innovation Ministerial in Pittsburgh. Hi, Georgia and Rosalinda. Thank you for joining us on the podcast today. So, Rosalinda, what is the Urban Transitions Mission bringing to what seems like an already crowded stage of city-focused initiatives?
Climate neutrality is a global challenge that by nature requires dialogue and cooperation. That's why it may seem like a crowded space. But cities, as you know, consume over 65% of world's energy and account for more than 70% of global CO2 emissions. That's why cities are the hotspots for both the emissions and the solutions. Many cities across the world have already been developing excellent solutions, but the real challenge is to make sure that all cities across the globe go climate neutral. This is why we need the Urban Transition Mission. The Urban Transition Mission will really make sure that we can capitalize on the city-to-city cooperation that already exists and that we can really spread and accelerate these solutions much faster. So the Urban Transition Mission aims to catalyze the action and the investments in research, development and demonstration to make the clean energy affordable, attractive and accessible for all. Because of this goal and vision, we have chosen Mission Innovation to host the Global Urban Transition Mission. We, as European Commission, are co-leading this mission together with the Global Covenant of Mayors that has really a very impressive network of more than 11,000 cities, and also JPI Urban Europe is a co-lead for this mission. JPI Urban Europe really brings to the mission the experience of coordinating international calls. We can also count on an impressive lineup of supporting members, such as the IEA, IRENA and the UNFCCC. So what will we do? What will be the added value of this mission? First of all, we will select 50 pilot cities worldwide that are at the forefront of innovation in putting clean and renewable energies at the core of their urban transitions. These cities will be supported to accelerate their clean energy transitions and to demonstrate cross-cutting clean energy solutions, really not only focusing on one sector, but really cutting across all sectors. Secondly, under the mission, we will launch a positive energy district sprint, which aims at having at least 100 positive energy districts by 2025 across the globe. A positive energy district is an urban area that produces more renewable energy than it consumes. And the starting point for these positive energy districts is actually reducing the energy demand and focusing on energy efficiency measures. Through the Mission Innovation mission, we will launch a specific call to fund these positive energy districts across the globe. Thirdly, we will set up a global knowledge exchange center, also in support of the mission. This is particularly important in light of the current energy crisis. The center will do three things. First of all, it will bring solutions by setting up a repository of international best practices in urban climate action. It will also moderate a learning community to ensure access to a wider and more varied toolbox of solutions. The goal is really to accelerate learning, replicability, and scaling up of solutions by learning from front-runner experience. Second, the center will enable more networking. It will link like-minded cities from across the world so that they can learn from each other and also accelerate their own transition. Extraordinary things are happening in the cities across the globe, but there are other models out there that can inspire and enrich our own, and that's why it's so important to network and link the cities together. Thirdly, funding. The center will bring the attention of the cities to funding opportunities across the globe, whether it are grants or loans or awards. Cities will also get a chance to exchange experiences on the setup and implementation of strategies for financing and climate action plans. In addition, as of next year, the mission will also host an annual innovation summit that will provide for ample opportunities for exchanges and networking for all cities.
Georgia, I should start by congratulating you on your recent appointment as Mission Director. While everything is still fresh, what are the top priorities for the Urban Transitions Mission in its first years?
First of all, thank you so much for the warm welcome, Andy. There is so much excitement in this space and also the shared understanding of the importance of cities and urban transitions in really delivering a net zero future. I'm truly looking forward to working with partners on enabling such transition within the cities on the ground together with them. And I think Rosalinda was absolutely right. In this critical decade, local governments and cities are also critical partners. And the urban transition missions give us this opportunity to leverage as much as possible what cities can do on the ground, not only their role as administrators, but also being able really to engage them as owners of the demand and providers of the solutions that are needed to reach net zero at the speed and at the scale that is necessary for us to meet the objectives of the Paris Agreement. In its initial phases, the mission will focus on establishing a first cohort of 50 cities. These 50 cities will be engaging directly with us already starting from this month, and they will have the opportunity to test and to develop together with us urban pathways that can learn and share with others across the world. These cities will continue to engage with us in the future years, and we will be able to include together with them 250 more cities to be added to the cohort and to continue working together to improve and implement their climate action plans at the pace and the priorities they are needing. Now, the second essential element of our work will be to coordinate as much as possible with national governments. We want to make sure the cities and national governments can work across the board to really support each other's ambition and to reap as much as possible the broader benefits of action implementation. The third element, also essential to our first phase of the urban transitions missions, is to make sure that we can enable the cities' net zero transition pathways through knowledge exchange. This will be done not only with our Global Alliance of Innovation. We have a number of partners that will be joining us from the national level, but also from across sectors and institutions to share their knowledge, their expertise, their tools, and the lessons learned for the initiatives that are already existing on the ground. In addition to that, of course, we will be able to help our cities to benefit from exchanging with their peers, an essential element for knowledge sharing and to make sure that we can really deliver on this systemic transition that we are trying to obtain. And then finally, we will be supporting transnational research and innovation projects through a number of mission innovation calls that will start also in 2022, which will focus specifically on urban challenges.
Thank you for joining us today, Rosalinda and Georgia.
Thank you to our guests, Valentina Palermo, Rosalinda van der Vlies, Georgia Rambelli, and of course, to our listeners for joining us today. I'm your host, Kathy Oak, and I acknowledge that this podcast was produced on the lands of the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung peoples of the Kulin Nation.
And I'm Ben Hanse. You've been listening to the City Climate Innovation Podcast series, produced by Kaisa Lundberg, Greta Rovinstone, Marnie McGregor, and Melania Tacconi, and Ben Chandler. Thanks to Music for a Warming World for providing the show's music, taken from their album, Only One Way to Heaven.
Make sure you subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss an episode. More information can be found on the show notes in the ClimateTalks Podcast page. And you can also follow us on Twitter at Mayors for Climate, at Network Cities, and at MCF Uni Melb.
Take care, everyone.